I just wanted to talk about that, casual little CD Project Red new Witcher teaser that they just put out the other
Ooh,
day.
Yes.
Um, I was doing a little bit of reading today, and it turns out they confirmed that it's a new school of the Witcher named the Lynx.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and so that to me just says right off the bat that it's not going to be involving Geralt at
Mm-hmm.
all, I would assume. Probably also not Ciri, then I would imagine, though I could see Ciri building her own school of the Lynx that would kind of fit her style. But um, yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited. I'm amazed that even with CD Project or not CD, Cyberpunk in the state that it's kind of still in, that they've already announced that they're just like, we're doing another Witcher game,
Mm-hmm.
guys.
honestly, that's not surprising to me at all. They are trying
Really?
to palette cleanses. They're like,
I
somebody
guess.
fucking Photoshop a goddamn necklace,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're using the Unreal engine, the Unreal 5 engine
Mm-hmm.
for it, and not using their own game engine anymore, which I totally understand. They went like, okay, we have this Witcher engine, and we're gonna try and like that we made in house, and we're gonna try and use it for Cyberpunk,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to like change all the game mechanics over to Cyberpunk. They were like, this is awful. Like everyone that we try and hire and bring in has like no previous work on this kind of an engine,
Mhm.
so them going
Oh,
to Unreal Engine 5, they can just,
yeah.
any community creator that does really good work that messes around with it in their spare time, boom, bunch of expertise, and they just bring them right on board. So I'm really excited. Like this, this game could be crazy cool in an Unreal Engine. I mean, that stuff looks so good every time I see any demo thing for it. So I was just curious what you guys think. I guess Matt, you said you haven't played much, but like Luca, clearly you're quite into the Witcher series.
Mm-hmm. I mean, The Witcher 3, I would say, is maybe the best game in the PS4 generation. Like,
Yeah,
and it came out with the console.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
like, it was like
yeah.
unsurpassed for like a good 8 years. Like, I can't think
Well,
of the only game I can think of that's like at that level is like God of War. That was like as big for me in this generation of games.
The I from the little I've played of The Witcher, but I understanding how big the universe, like the world is, I'd say they're equally impressive for completely different reasons.
yeah, that's
Like
fair.
the thing about The Witcher, like it's not even the world, the game itself, like how the game plays, how the missions were written, like how much effort was put into the game as like an actual video game was just insane. I mean,
Yeah,
like Blood and Wine,
I was gonna say, man, the DLC to that game is
yeah,
its own set of games.
it's
That
literally it's a brand new map. Like it adds like 30 hours of main story missions, it adds like
Mhm.
10, 15 hours of side quests, and it costs less than like it could be a full price game. And it
Absolutely.
was a DLC.
There's plenty of games that come out at a full $80 that don't have half the content that
Yeah.
Blood and Wine did. Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. If they can match that kind of quality and output for a full new game with new set of characters,
Mm-hmm.
I have 100% faith that they'll do a good job with it, even with like removed from the cyberpunk blunder that they had.
Yeah. Like I remember, I know after The Witcher 3 came out, like after I finished, I started looking for like any rumors of The Witcher 4 or anything. And I know that somebody in CD Projekt had said, like, we don't know if we'll continue Geralt's story, but we do want more Witcher stories. And this one was called, like, they announced like The Witcher Saga, right? It wasn't like,
Yeah.
Yeah, a new saga begins.
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like, it seems like they want to set up maybe like either a series of games or like, I mean, they also dabbled a bit. They were talking about like multiplayer stuff with the Cyberpunk, and
Mm,
they might try to do something like that with The Witcher. I really hope they don't, because I don't want that. Like, I want a solo RPG
yeah.
experience.
Like the story is still one of the really great parts about the Witcher
Mm-hmm.
series. So I think adding a co-op setting would often dilute that experience for at
Yeah,
least one of the parties, if not both.
yeah,
So I would agree. I think, yeah, unless like the narrative was written in mind with having a second character there, but then that would be, I
like,
can't even imagine the headache
I
that would
I
try and
don't want to
create.
see that. Like, I just they did so with The Witcher 3. Like, if they just copy that and try to elevate that for like a fourth game, that would be amazing. I'm just curious what the story would be then, like,
Yeah.
because they'd be going out of the canon of the books.
Yeah, because the books have never written about this school of the
So
links, I
Yeah.
imagine.
that's very, just reading up on the teaser reveal here. The Link School is something that's never shown up any mention or reference either in the games, obviously not the books. There's a fanfic about the School of the Lynx, which will probably be disregarded. But I'm curious because I know there's a lot of like when I talk to Will, there's a definite distinction between a lot of fans of The Witcher between, you know, the written word, the games, and the show. The show being, you know, the most far removed from the books, as to what I've heard, and the game sort of being an unofficial sequel of the books. So could you guys clarify this for me? Like, this is going to be a sequel to an unofficial sequel of the book, right? Do I have that right?
I honestly have no idea. I've not read the books, and I still haven't watched the second season of the show yet. I'm just kind of waiting to binge that entire thing when I have some time. But
Me too.
as far as I'm aware, yeah, you are right with the Witcher 1, 2, 3 kind of being like an unofficial sequel to the canon books.
Mm-hmm.
And then with this, I have no idea. I imagine it'll keep it canon to at least like the video game world of the Witcher series.
Right.
I don't really know anything outside of that because there's not much other reference to it. Like, I don't know if the school will be anywhere near where like the places that you've interacted with as Geralt in the past games. I don't know if they'll choose an entirely different chunk of the world that's just not really been explored before. Like with the Heart and Wine or the Blood and Wine DLC, like it was very clearly there was a massive chunk of the world that hasn't been used in the games yet so that they could go into. I could definitely see them taking that route with this game and just having a whole new section of the world for you to be able to explore. But Aluka might know more about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like where the canon like lines up, I actually don't know. I haven't finished the series either. I've only read like the first 3 books,
okay,
and all the short stories. Like I thought originally that like game 1 and 2 sort of happen around the like they happen within the like the timeline of the books, and then number 3 was after, but I could be completely wrong.
Okay,
so I haven't played games 1 or 2. I only started with the 3rd game,
right?
Because like game 1 was like a PC exclusive from like early 2000s or late 90s.
I tried it, and yeah, like 2 is okay in terms of mechanical refinements, and then obviously 3 is a much smoother gameplay experience. But the like 25 minutes I played of 1, it was like a mess. And
so you go back to play Assassin's Creed 1, but worse.
Oh yeah, worse.
Yeah, way
like
worse.
the little bit of gameplay I've seen of it is just it's
just clunky. There's way too many like mechanics that you have to try and keep track of. So like half your keyboard is being used for different things. And you're like, oh my goodness, okay, I'm lost already.
But in terms of like how much of the Witcher 3 story was written by like the CD Projekt Red team, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure a lot of it was like their own creation.
Right.
I mean, obviously, like, but the thing is, like, the characters, like, they didn't have to write the characters. Like, they had Ciri, they had Geralt, they had Yen, all the witches. They had all these characters already ready. So that's why I'm like, where would they go with the Witcher 4? I feel like you'd have to have all of the established characters there, and like have like, I don't know, Geralt be like an older man, or like a retired, or like Geralt could take over the role of Vesemir in this sort of story. I feel like you'd have to have, like, I'd have to see Novigrad, I'd have to see like the Skellig Isles, and then you could add like the other geographic locations, like you could have Tucson, and like desert that you don't explore at all, let's say like north of the continent. And like I would like to see that. And it's honestly interesting, like, how would the School of the Lynx even fit into the world they've set up?
Yeah, like I'm disappointed that the teaser has snow and not sand. And I know that the lynx is more of a like kind of northern hemisphere animal, which fine, it makes sense. I do think like a Witcher game set in a desert scenario would be really, really incredible. The different like twist on mutations in like natural wildlife existing in a desert scenario would be crazy. Like instead of spiders in caves, you have like crazy snakes like jumping out of holes in the sand and stuff like that would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, most of the Witcher schools have really specific kind of like traits that are defined by their like school animal. So I'm thinking that with a lynx, you've got like a really agile school that moves around a lot, and almost like it seems like it would be really similar to the wolf, but just in a smaller stature almost. Yeah.
Do you think like that they would do it as like a customizable character, or would you play like a set character? Because that's like one major like, you play Geralt, you know, like you play an established character in the School of the Wolf. I don't know, I mean, you also play as Ciri in like parts of the game.
Chunks of the
game. But like I wonder what if they do like a character creator like they tried for Cyberpunk, right? Or would they write a new POV character that you play as?
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all, actually. And I guess coming from Cyberpunk, where they had experience creating that like more free RPG branching gameplay style, that would be really interesting. Because one of the things I do think that Cyberpunk did really well, even off of release, was the 3 like lifestyle choices and just the amount of customization that you had. That if they could really get the transition over well, it would be amazing. Like imagine combining a Skyrim type customization system with the Witcher world and storytelling and characters. Like that would be crazy. That would be, I mean, that would be like an early game of the year contender right off the bat if it was rumored to be.
So you would prefer like creating your own character in this universe than playing a written one?
I don't know if I would prefer it though, is the thing. I think it would still be really, really great. It's just that like part of the reason that the other Witcher games were good was because it was so well written through a single character. Like you don't have to worry about like shoehorning different lifestyles and character backgrounds into a single player character campaign. It was, this is Geralt. Your Geralt is the same as your friend's Geralt. It's just you wore different armor and had a different like optimization path. It was still, you know, his backstory is the same backstory, maybe slightly tweaked depending on how you made choices in the past games when you played it. But that always feels like an easier writing decision to make than trying to like have customized backgrounds. And just the depth of character as well is always better if you have a pre-existing written out character that you just step into the shoes of and then see life through their eyes rather than creating your own. I'd be really curious to see what it would be like. And I think maybe if I finished Cyberpunk, I would have a better answer, because if I could see how they handled that customization through a full campaign, maybe I'd change my mind overall. But I haven't finished it yet. So, but yeah, that's a good point, Luke. I didn't think about even a customizing character at all.
Yeah, because like one of the strongest points of The Witcher 3 is like the writing and like the
like
actual
Geralt's
story.
relationship with Ciri the entire time is basically like a father-daughter duo. Like that was never something that Geralt thought he would have in his life, and then he has this character that he has to like protect and care for and grows to be very fond of. It's hard to do that with X, you know, character number 23 that someone has made. Like obviously you can still write the narrative to do it, and other games have shown us that, but it just makes it a lot more difficult and it feels cheaper sometimes. But
it's sort of turning The Witcher into Skyrim, not the same. But that being said though, like I never, like the only times I felt connected with my Skyrim character is when I put like heavy role play restrictions on my playthrough, which is not often. And I don't think that's the case for most people who play games like that. But I have felt very connected with my character playing something like Dragon Age, where like your character choices are actually like built into the game. But that is a customizable character. But you only have a few options of like backstory and stuff like that. So it's doable to make it grounded, sort of deep character. But I think it would definitely be a step away from what they've been known by, I guess. So I think just as like a total outsider, whatever they did with Cyberpunk, they're like, maybe that's not our thing.
I mean, I would honestly rather see a written character, I think, for The Witcher. Because like when you're talking about something like Dragon Age or Skyrim, it's like they write everything for the Dragonborn, and then you just make the Dragonborn you want. Like they write everything for the Inquisitor, and then you just make the Inquisitor whoever you want them to be. So like, I feel like it adds a depth to the writing when they're like writing for a specific. Writing for Geralt is one thing. Writing for the unknown Inquisitor is a different sort of feeling. Although like there is like moments of Dragon Age where I'm like deeply invested in the story and like I'm drawn into my character because I created the character. But like Geralt is like a special character, maybe just because I love Geralt so much that I'll go back and play as Geralt endlessly. So like it might be difficult to write another character like that where it's so iconic and loved that everybody would just be in for that. But I think I'd still rather see them write an original character. But I know that they did mention in that same like interview that I was reading, when they said they wanted to do more Witcher games, that they might want to have like a younger and female Witcher as like the main character, and that could be like mentored by Ciri or like mentored by Geralt and Ciri. Like I'd love to see that.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is just the fact that like it's a step away. Like when you think of The Witcher, you think of Geralt.
Yeah.
Like that's sure there are other Witchers involved in the story in every single game you play through, but Geralt is the Witcher. Like his face is on every game that they put out. So I think again it could be managed. Like a game like Dragon Age 2, which gets some, pretty fair criticisms about it. Like the concept of having your character's sister being a major part of the story going forward, that kind of thing is an easy way to make an instant connection no matter which RPG character you play.
Right.
So like there are ways to try and tie those characters in, but again, I think like Lucas says, like, the formula wasn't broken having a really well written and liked character that everyone just played as. You have experience doing stuff like that. My only concern would be the fact that you don't have anything to base it off of. You have to write it from the ground up at this point.
Yeah. Because, with making Geralt in the games, they have the novels to pull from and be like, this is what makes this character tick.
Exactly.
And, that sort of comes through and while you're playing the game. So like, it is a little bit scary of them being like, yeah, we could do this. It's like
we could write another Geralt. Like, okay.
Like if they announce tomorrow that like the author of the books is helping to write the game, then I'm like, all right, whatever choice you make at this point, I'm down. Like we're okay here. We're going to be fine.
I think he's very much uninvolved from most of the games, right? There's some sort of.
He was completely uninvolved with the games.
Yeah. And I think I'm reading here, like there's a quote that says, we're never going to make a Witcher 4. That's not happening. This is a new thing. And it doesn't violate our agreement with the author. So that to me says we could do this and there's nothing that person could do about it, which says to me that they probably would if they could. So I don't know if they would be involved.
Yeah, it's like the Mass Effect and the Halo thing where like the parent company is like, we're done here. And then somebody puts some pressure on it. They're like, but money. And they're like, oh, we're making more.
Right. We forgot.
Yeah. And so
actually the story wasn't over yet.
Yeah.
Palpatine has returned.
Oh, not again. Yeah. As long as they don't go that route and have, I don't know, something at least to show for a main character by the time the trailer releases, that would put a lot of my concerns to bed, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, it's just a teaser, so
yeah, this is a poster.
Yeah, right. But I mean the hype level is off the charts.
Oh yeah, I mean I haven't even played Cyberpunk, so I am not upset with CD Projekt Red at all. Like to me they are still the company that made The Witcher, so I have utmost faith.
The Witcher 3 didn't exactly release in perfect state either. And
I didn't even buy it at release. Like I only found out about that later. So like apparently it came out buggy and terrible and they worked on it for like, they released like multiple patches for it and then it turned into like Game of the Year.
And like Cyberpunk is fairly playable now. It's not always perfect, but it's very playable at least. So
well, I even heard that it was good from the start on like PS5.
Yeah, I mean that was the only issue is that like PS5, like there were 12 people in the world that had a PS5 at the time, so it's like unfortunate. But if there was a studio that I could trust to even not release something that was great on release and then genuinely fix it into being something fantastic, CD Projekt Red is right up there. So yeah, as long as they stick true to the kind of stuff that they were good at in the first place, I'll probably still really enjoy this game.
Okay, I got one question for you guys. If the trailer comes out, let's just say a week for the conversation's sake, what would be the one thing that you would be like, I'm not fucking playing this game? If they made the character this person or like this, like what would be the one thing where you're like, oh hell nah?
I think if it was something that would like shit on Geralt's legacy, that would be an instant like, okay, what the fuck, you guys? Yeah, like you just had 3 games where everyone loved this character, and then like I don't know, say.
Like he's the villain of the 4th game.
Like maybe he just like decided randomly to treat Ciri like trash out of nowhere and like fracture their relationship in a really, really bad way. It'd be like, well, what was the point of like The Witcher 3 then, you guys? Like, what? Okay. I think something like that would be pretty bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of like a character that'd be like, oh, I don't want to play that character. Like, I don't want to be that
But if
person.
you're just Dandelion,
Hey,
You just
count
have
me
to-
in. It's just a bard game. You just run around playing songs the whole time.
It's like a Guitar Hero type, like
Oh, that'd be awesome.
comes with a lute with like 4 colored buttons.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I agree. Any game that disrespects the legacy of the story or the first few games, I would not be down for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd still probably buy it just because it's like another Witcher game, but I would not be happy playing for it.
Yeah, the amount of content you'd probably still get out of it would be really fun. But I mean, like, even if Geralt was dead, I'd probably still be fine.
Mhm.
If it was that far advanced that Geralt had passed and Ciri was like the older mentor keeping the place running,
Yeah, I'd be
that
completely
would be a really
fine with
cool concept. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, Geralt had his time in games and books and now TV shows, so
Mhm.
I don't blame them for trying to go towards a new character in that scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
just
even doing it like that would be like a safe way to like preserve his legacy
Exactly,
as a
right?
character.
Yeah.
like he's so far removed that there's no way that he can like be involved in a
Mhm.
serious way anymore. And it's like, cool, all right. If you want to deal with more Geralt stuff, just go back and play the other games. And
Yeah.
have a great time.
Yeah, if he's just like an overarching character that like existed and is essentially like a mythological sort of person now, like I'd be completely fine. Like,
Yeah, like some legend, like genuinely a legendary Witcher that
Mhm.
like people tell stories about would be really cool. But
yeah.
yeah, just leave him alone. As far as I'm aware for the next game, just leave him alone.
Yeah.
Mhm.